and they announced the new energy secretary. And his name is Stephen Chu. He's a Nobel Prize winner. And they said, and this is going to blow your minds, because I know in the last 8 years you haven't heard this. They said he was chosen because Obama wants to emphasize competence and science. And I thought, wow, we have already gotten change. Competence and science, rather than fantasy and BS. There you go. You said it better than I. Fantasy and BS. Thank you, sir. Progress. And thanks. We are always in momentous times. Always momentous. And the most momentous development of this moment is the struggle to bail out the auto companies. Not because the auto companies deserve it. But boy, how many of you have got, you don't have to raise your hands here, but how many of you got a kid who doesn't quite deserve to be bailed out either, but you're going to do it. And I'll tell you why we need to bail those auto companies out. Because this is not, at least in my mind, I know those Southern senators, and we've gone so far south we're no longer in the South, I appreciate that. But I know those Southern senators, they're going, oh, we aren't opposed to the auto companies. We love big business. We love corporations. We're opposed to the UAW. We don't like unions. And that's exactly right. They got $750 billion for the most crooked bankers in the world in a week. And they bet a month and a half to bail out with just $14 billion for 3 million auto and auto parts workers. What is wrong with that? That is corporations versus workers, the oldest story in the world. We have to be passionate about bailing out the UAW, and I will tell you why. Because when Martin Luther King Jr. got put in Birmingham jail, Walter Reuther called the United Auto Workers Southern District and said, you get down there with the bail money and you let that man out of jail. The United Auto Workers stood for peace and economic justice and civil rights when those corporations never came near it. We need to bail out the United Auto Workers and make sure that every one of those auto workers stays on the job. What's that, brother? You need your pension.
I'm an auto worker.
Damn straight, we're getting your pension, brother. You know, and the other thing about the auto workers, why it is so very important to bail them out, this isn't the subject of my talk, but it's close to my heart. The other reason we need to bail the auto workers out is this. When I toured the United States in 1990 with Nelson Mandela, after he had been released for 27 years on Robben Island, where they gave him shoes too small to fit his feet. To this day, he hobbles because of the torture he went through for 27 years. They offered to release him again and again. He said, I will not go free until my people are free. When he came to the United States to celebrate that release, he did speak on Wall Street. All the corporations wanted him there. South Africa's got gold. And he spoke in the Congress of the United States. Of course, all the members of Congress, including those who opposed removing sanctions on South Africa, wanted a picture taken with him. Strong Thurmond elbowing down in front. Let me get my picture with this man. But Nelson Mandela said, I want to go one other place on this tour of the United States. And so we flew to Dearborn, Michigan. And we visited the General Motors plant in Dearborn. Because Nelson Mandela wanted to thank United Auto Workers Local 600 in Dearborn for being the first union local on the planet to call for his release and for spending 27 years issuing resolutions, raising money, and fighting against apartheid. Black and white auto workers in Dearborn, Michigan, before any government, before any political party, the United Auto Workers Union standing to free Nelson Mandela from Robben Island. Is there any question that these people deserve not just a bailout, but frankly, every penny we gave to those damn bankers? Now, a couple of things to mention up front here. the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. What a wonderful group to be greeted by. Thank you so much for being here. If you are not a member, become one, and you will find out something very interesting. Now, I notice as I look out over this crowd that there's, maybe a tad bit of white hair in the room. And you may think that the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom is a bunch of old ladies that just, sit around and talk about how we might bake some cookies for peace. Do a little bake sale. But the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom has done a better job than virtually any group I know of reaching out to college students and young women. And I have been at protest marches where there's been a bunch of teenage women International League for Peace and Freedom activists. If you want to join a group that has not just an incredible history, 90 years of fighting against war and poverty and injustice, but an incredible future, sign up with this one. What a great group. Women's International League for Peace and Freedom.
Thank you so much.
And the Raging Grannies. Oh my God. Wow. Talk about a great song. Yeah, I'm just tearful. I fear when you can start raging on Obama. I hope it's not soon. He's a good man, but he could use a little prod now and again, so I'm sure the grannies... Who better than a grandmother to set you straight, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, my grandmother, let me tell you, Catherine Margaret Moore of Blue River, Wisconsin. She could tell if I was doing the wrong thing 3 rooms down the hall. Oh, did she set me straight many times. So I want the Raging Grannies treating Barack Obama like a grandson. All that love, all those cookies, but boy, if he steps out of line, I want to hear a song. And let me tell you this. Do you know where the Raging Grannies come from? Do you know the history of the Raging? You know where Raging Grannies started?
Victoria, British Columbia.
Yeah, what did they start for?
It was the nuclear subs off the coast.
Absolutely. Fighting against nuclear power. And isn't it a wonderful thing to have the President of the United States who has said on the record and passionately, I will oppose the weaponization of space. I don't want nukes in space. Now, all right. What have we been through these last 8 years? What did Palm Beach County do to us? Not that I'm putting any pressure on. All right? But those 8,000 votes or whatever for Pat Buchanan, coming out of predominantly Jewish precincts. Now, I know there are many elderly garment workers and immigrants from Eastern Europe who are enthusiastic about electing an anti-Semite president. I realize these possibilities may exist. But 8,000 of them? Seems a little odd, quirky, bad thing, and it was funny. I thought you guys were, I have to say I was a little upset. I'll admit, even though butterfly ballot, the whole bit, I was a little upset. Until I started seeing this recount up in Minnesota, Al Franken and Norm Coleman. Norm Coleman went into court yesterday, and he said, we got to stop the recount. Got to stop the recount. Because the state canvassing board just said, they came down with this ruling, and I know it's this crazy stuff, being Floridians, you won't understand this, but they said we should count every vote. And every vote that was honestly cast, we're going to count, right? And so Norm Coleman's reaction to that, Norm Coleman, the Republican senator trying to hold on to his seat, rushed his lawyers into court. And they said, you got to stop the recount immediately, because we have the threat of chaos. A chaotic circumstance. Now, I know that the English language is a complex language. I had never seen that definition of chaos being counting every vote. But they were very, very concerned. And you know what they said? You can't make this stuff up. Norm Coleman's lawyers said in court, before the Minnesota Supreme Court, when they filed their lawsuit to shut down the recount, we got to avoid the kind of chaos they had in Florida. And I thought to myself, geez, somebody going to court to try and shut down a recount. That does sound familiar. And I do associate it with Florida. But I don't actually think that that was the chaotic part of it. I think actually that was the part where they stole the presidency from us.
Rank criminality.
Rank criminality. Well, on I'm sorry, am I not at the Palm Beach Republican Party dinner? Hold it. Yeah, rank criminality is a darn fine term for it. I spent a lot of my time thinking about the Constitution. The only way I kept saying the last 8 years was I spent most of that time living in the 1780s.